So what really cured my husband's lymphoma cancer? 100% cancer-free. Hello, y'all. I'm Diana Brienne. Well. I have talked about this subject at great length in other videos, and so if you have not gone and watched any of those videos, I hope you do as well. That will give you the background and what my husband and us as a family went through on his cancer journey, okay? Well, as many of you know, my husband was basically diagnosed 100% cancer-free after a year ago when he was in not very good shape. He had gotten a sudden diagnosis of lymphoma cancer. One mass was quite large, sitting next to his heart and next to his lungs. He had several other masses in his body as well. The prognosis did not look good from my understanding. And yet we were hopeful. We prayed for a miracle. And you know, miracles can come in many different ways. They just don't come in one form necessarily. They can come through doctors, they can come through medicine, they can come through prayer, they can come through things that we do. I mean, all kinds of things and all kinds of ways. And so, as many of you who've watched my other videos know, that my husband underwent massive chemotherapy for about 4 months, and it was massive. It wasn't like a little bit of chemotherapy. Not that a little chemotherapy is necessarily, you know, fun to go through, but this was massive. And he went through all of the typical side effects of losing his hair. You know, he had so many side effects during that time from the chemotherapy. It was awful. And so needless to say, it was a very challenging and very difficult time for my husband and for us as a family. And we all rallied around my husband, and especially me. You know, I was there continuously with him. And it was a very, very difficult time. Now, he was first diagnosed, I think, in the end of February. He started his chemo in somewhere like in April. He finished his chemo somewhere over the summer. When he got his additional or follow-up CAT scan, PET scan, and his blood work, the tumors were initially reduced by about 25%. That was after the chemo was complete, but they could not do any more chemo because the chemo was so toxic to his body from the amounts that he was getting that he could not take any more. And so, as I talked about before, we decided to go on a very holistic approach, which was approved by the doctors, and it was basically very nutritional eating, certain supplements that we were taking. And I had researched quite a bit online, and I did have some knowledge. And so we started on a very healthy way of eating. And I've talked about that in other videos if you want to know a little bit more about the kind of diet that we were on. I don't give advice, I don't give suggestions. I just share with you our own personal journey. Cancer is not a one-size-fits-all solution. There's not necessarily a solution that fits for everybody. Everyone has to find what works for them. Even chemotherapy has to be tailored towards the person getting it. There's usually, in my understanding, not a one-size-fits-all type of chemo. And so basically, he underwent all the chemotherapy, 25% reduction, which was, you know, better than not having anything, but it wasn't what we had hoped for. So we then went on this diet. We went on certain supplements. I don't want to give out the names of the supplements because, you know, they're pretty popular. You know, people know what they are. Most of them you can buy at your typical health food store. And so my husband, based on a woman I knew who took a certain supplement, and she did wonderful when she started taking one particular supplement right along with the diet change, no sugar, you know, a lot of green leafy vegetables, organic, juicing, all of that is what we did. And so fast forward about 2.5 more months, 3 months after that, my husband got another PET scan, CAT scan, and blood work, and the tumors were reduced about 75% at that point. Now, at that point, my husband, even though he had done extremely well on the anti-cancer diet, as I call it, and it's not really what it's called, it's just a very healthy way of eating, very strict, very healthy, very regimented way of eating. And so he was down about 75% at that particular point from the cancer. And but he started to kind of veer off of the strictness of the diet that we were on, and he started kind of eating things that were not on the diet. But he remained on a couple of the particular supplements that were recommended to us. And so he stayed on those supplements. He still ate healthy, but not quite as rigid as what we did before. And then he had his following PET scan, CAT scan, in, I think it was February of this year. So it'd be a year later after the cancer, was first diagnosed. And he was 100% cancer free. There was no sign of the cancer. And there was, his blood work was perfectly normal. The tumor markers were perfectly normal, whereas initially they had been sky high. And the PET scans, the CAT scans, there were no tumors, and everything was gone, or no masses, everything was gone. And so, we were just thrilled, absolutely thrilled. Now, my husband, like I said, has since then gone off of a very strict way of eating. And so, what part that our dietary changed, even though we were always healthy eaters, this was a very strict type of healthy eating. And whether it was the chemotherapy that, ultimately cured him, whether it was the diet that cured him, whether that was the supplements that cured him, whether it was a combination of all of it, or whether it was simply a miracle. I don't know. But for me, it was simply a miracle all the way around. However it was done, it was a miracle. And so I don't really know what cured my husband's cancer. I don't know. And he had a bad one. It was not looking good at all. The only issue that he has now is not from the cancer, but from the chemotherapy. He now has neuropathy, which he has some numbness and tingling in his hands and in his feet. And it hasn't gone away. But he still golfs every day. He exercises, he golfs, he's doing wonderful. We're out and about. He does golf tournaments all the time. So, he's doing really, really remarkable. So I don't know what really cured his cancer. I don't know if it was a combination or if it was one specific thing of the ones that I had mentioned, or simply a pure miracle. I don't know. But I am so grateful, and I just wanted to come on here and update y'all about how he's doing. He's doing wonderful, minus a neuropathy, but he said he can live with that after all he's been through. And we just pray that he continues to be 100% cancer-free. So from my house to yours, may God bless you. I hope you like, share, subscribe, and I hope to talk to you soon again. Bye-bye.